ECC Math lesson number 20, using the quadratic formula. Well, in the last lesson, we looked at how we solve quadratics by factoring. Factoring is perfectly fine, but sometimes the factoring is real difficult. So we've got a very, it looks difficult, but it's not very difficult, formula that we can use to solve any quadratic. This is called the quadratic formula. And today we're going to look at how we use that. And again, don't be intimidated. It's not that bad. Okay. A couple of things. First of all, when you're using the quadratic formula, you need to make sure that the quadratic is in standard form, just like when we factored it. We need to get it set equal to 0. That's real important. Get it into that standard form. Once you do that, then, you've got three numbers we're going to work with. The coefficient of the x squared term, the coefficient of the x term, and the constant number on the end. Using those numbers, then, we'll plug them into this formula. The opposite of the b term plus or minus the square root of the b term squared minus 4 times the a term times the c term all over twice the a term. All right, here's our first example. And I suggest maybe at the first, if you're uncomfortable, list out your a, your b, and your c. So in this example, I know my a is a positive 1, my b is negative 8, and my c is negative 9. Plugging those into the formula, then, we have the opposite of the b term, so that's going to give me an 8 plus or minus the square root. The b term squared, so negative 8 squared is 64, minus 4 times a times c. 4 times 1 is 4, times negative 9 is a negative 36. So watch your signs here. This is an area where students make most of their mistakes. All over twice the a term, so 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, that double negative is going to make that plus 36. So we're going to end up with 8 plus or minus the square root of 100 over 2. The square root of 100 is 10. So we have 8 plus or minus 10 all over 2. Okay, all quadratics have two solutions. They may be two real solutions, they may be the same, they may be two imaginary solutions, but they have two solutions. And that plus or minus here is how we arrive at the two solutions. So my one solution is 8 plus 10 over 2, which is 18 over 2, which is 9. And the other solution is 8 take away 10 over 2, which is negative 2 over 2, which is a negative 1. So my two solutions are 9 and negative 1. Moving to the next example. Here again we have our quadratic. It's already in standard form for us. It's already set equal to 0. So we simply use our a, b, and c term and plug it into the formula. So my a term is 10, my b is 13, and my c in this case is negative 3. So the opposite of the b term, so that's going to give me negative 13 plus or minus the square root of the b term squared. 13 squared is 169, minus 4 times a times c. So 4 times 10 is 40, times negative 3 is a negative 120. So I have minus a negative 120 there. All over twice the a term, so 2 times 10 is 20. Okay, now we have negative 13 plus or minus the square root of 289 all over 20. Well, the square root of 289 is 17, so I have negative 13 plus or minus 17 all over 20. All right, so one solution is negative 13 plus 17 over 20. So that's going to give me positive 4 over 20, which reduces to 1/5. And the other solution is negative 13 minus 17 over 20. Negative 13 minus 17 is negative 30 over 20, which reduces to a negative 3/2, which becomes a negative 1/2. So there are my two solutions. Alright, next example. Here, this one is not in standard form. As you can see, we've got it equal to -8 here. We want it equal to 0. So I need to get that -8 over here by adding an 8 to each side. So we'll rewrite this as 3x squared minus 10x plus 8 now is equal to 0. So we added 8 to each side of the equation. Setting up our quadratic then, we have -10 as our b term, so the opposite of that is positive 10. Plus minus the square root. The b term squared is 100 minus 4 times a, so 4 times 3 is 12, times 8 is a positive 96. So we have minus 96 all over twice the a term, which is 6. So we end up with 10 plus or minus the square root of 4 over 6, and the square root of 4 is 2, so we get 10 plus and minus 2 over 6. So one solution is 10 plus 2 over 6, which is 12 over 6, which is 2. And the other solution is 10 take away 2 over 6, which is 8 over 6, which reduces to 4/3, which we'll write as 1 1/3. So there are two solutions. All right, quick review. Again, the first step is to make sure that the quadratic is in standard form. Okay. That means it's set equal to 0. You got to do that first. Once you have it in standard form, then you can use your formula. Opposite of b plus or minus the square root of the b term squared minus the product of 4ac all over 2a. And again, watch this area right here. Watch your signs. It's where students make a lot of their mistakes. Okay, you've got some problems in front of you to do. As always, have fun completing those. And if you need some help, go see your math teacher. All right, take care. Goodbye.